Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So as of course today the World Cup has kicked off. I think by the time you guys will be watching this video, the first game will have finished between Russia and Saudi Arabia. But as the World Cup is kicking off today, I thought why not bring a World Cup themed video to the channel. So what we're going to be doing today, guys, we're going to be counting down the top 10 championship players who will be playing at the World Cup this year. Now, when I was doing my research for this, it would surprise you really how many championship players are actually going to the World Cup this year. So this is quite an interesting list which we've gone ahead and compiled, and I'm excited to bring this one to you. So let me know down below how you think these players are going to get on in the World Cup. As well as that, who are you guys backing for this year's World Cup? I'd be interested to know what you guys are saying for this one. Myself personally, I was really backing Spain, and then of course they went and sacked their manager, so that's sort of put an end to that one for me. For me personally now, I'm probably going to be backing, I think Brazil have probably got the best chance of going ahead and winning the World Cup this year. But let me know down below who you guys are fancying. As well as that, how far do you think England will actually go in this year's World Cup? For me personally, I think we've got a good chance of getting to around about the quarterfinals. I think that's as far as we'll probably go in this tournament. So let me know down below how far you think England will go. And one thing I wanted to bring up before we actually go ahead and get into this top 10 list is I saw a tweet the other day which managed to spark quite a bit of debate, which I wanted to bring to you guys on the channel. Basically, the question was, what would you rather see happen? Would you rather see your club that you support win the league this season, or would you rather see England go ahead and win the World Cup? I'll leave a poll for you guys to vote on that one, and let me know down below what you guys are thinking. For me personally, as much as I would love to see England go ahead and win the World Cup, like that would just be insane in Russia this year, I've got to be backing Preston to win the league over that. That's just my personal opinion. I think that club does come slightly above country for me personally, but let me know down below what you guys are thinking for that one. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this top 10 list. So I must say, before we actually get into it, this top 10 list isn't necessarily based on ability, and it's not really in any particular order. This is just based on the top 10 players from the championship who I am most excited to go ahead and watch and see how they do in this year's competition. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into it. So coming in at number 10 on the list, we have Jon Dadi Bodvarsson, of course, currently playing for Reading in the championship, and he will be representing Iceland in this year's World Cup. Of course, it's the first time which Iceland has ever qualified for a World Cup, and we could see Jon Dadi Bodvarsson feature for them. Now, he doesn't have the best scoring record internationally. I believe he's played 38 games for them and only scored 2 goals, of course one of them coming at the Euros. He of course featured in that game where Iceland knocked England out as well. Last season for Reading, I don't think he had the best of seasons really. He went ahead and scored 7 goals for them in the league. Not the best return. I think he'll be looking to better that going into next season. But in terms of going into the World Cup, he's certainly an option here. I think he's about 6'3", so he's going to win a lot of knock-ons. And the group which Iceland find themselves in is quite an interesting one. They've got Argentina, Croatia, and Nigeria to go up against. Then in at number 9 on the list, we then have Hegazi from West Brom, of course, with West Brom being relegated to the championship this season. Now, a lot of media attention is being focused on Egypt at the moment, of course, with Mohamed Salah being their main man. But if Egypt are going to get anywhere in this tournament, their defence is going to be pivotal for them. And the key defender at the back for Egypt is going to be Hegazi, of course. He had an alright season last year for West Brom, of course. They were relegated, but if West Brom do manage to keep hold of him over this summer transfer window, I think he will be an exceptional defender in the championship. I think for Egypt, he's been a pivotal player for them as well. He's gone ahead and accumulated 45 international caps for them. And I would say that Egypt actually probably do have a decent chance of getting out of their group, of course. Being in Group A, they've got Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. They're probably not going to win the group. That's probably going to be Uruguay, but coming second, they've got a good chance. Then next of all on the list, in at number 8, we then have Cheikhou Ndoye, of course, currently playing for Birmingham in the championship. He will be representing Senegal in this year's World Cup, and quite an interesting player, I think it's fair to say. In the national team, I doubt he'll be played as an attacking midfielder like Steve Cottrell played in last season for Birmingham. We saw some interesting performances when Cheikhou Ndoye was played there, I think that's fair to say, but more of a defensive midfielder, that's for sure. I'm not sure if he's actually going to play because Senegal do have quite a few options as defensive midfielders. You know, they've got the likes of Idrissa Gueye from Everton, they've got Kouyaté from West Ham. I think it's fair to say that when Ndoye was being played as an attacking midfielder, Birmingham fans had some interesting things to say about it. We had one person saying, I say this every week, how is Ndoye a professional footballer? Dreadful. We had another Birmingham fan saying this about him. He said, I mean, he's playing Ndoye in the 10. Messi is a 10, Dybala is a 10, and so is Hazard. Ndoye is a fridge freezer. I think that pretty much sums up his playmaking abilities. However, towards the end of the season, I would say that Ndoye probably won some Birmingham fans around. He's definitely not the most technically gifted footballer, but he does put in 100%, so you got to give that to him at least. I would also say that Senegal have a pretty good chance of getting out of their group. It's quite a tight one in there, in my opinion. They're going to go ahead and face Colombia, Poland, and Japan, of course. With some of the players they've got going forward, like Mane and Diouf from Stoke as well, they've got a chance. Then in at number 7 on the list, we then have Sam Morsy, of course, currently playing for Wigan Athletic. He was a key player in their promotion season last year for them to bounce straight back up to the Championship from League One. I believe he captained them last season as well, and he's an energetic midfielder, got a good range of passing and can break up the play quite well. Could be a useful player for Egypt going into this tournament. He hasn't played the most games for Egypt. I believe he's only played 5 games for them, but if he is employed, he could be a useful player for them. If he does get on as well, I'm hoping I see some Egypt fans singing this about him.
Sam Morsy, 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 Morsy. Sam Morsy, 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 Morsy.
Then in at number 6 on the list, we then have some Aussie midfielders coming in. Now I've decided to include 3 players as our number 6 on the list, as I couldn't choose which one to leave out really. So coming in at number 6, we have Mali Jedinak, Massimo Luongo and Jackson Irvine, of course. All Championship midfielders who will be going into this Australian squad in the World Cup. And I'd say they all bring something different as well. Of course, Mali Jedinak currently playing for Aston Villa, played a massive role in their season as well as they reached the playoff final, plays as a defensive midfielder and is actually the captain of the national side. He's gone ahead and picked up 76 caps for them. What's interesting about Jedinak is if he does have a good World Cup, we could see him actually leave Aston Villa, of course, with the financial situation that they currently find themselves in, and with Jedinak being one of their high earners, it is likely that he will be leaving in the summer. Luongo and Irvine then offer 2 different things, I'd suggest, to Jedinak. You know, Jedinak's more of a defensive midfielder, whereas you'd look to someone like Luongo for his passing range and ability and his vision, stuff like that. Then you look to someone like Jackson Irvine for his physicality in the midfield. Both of them, I'd say, would have goals in them and going forward can be quite dangerous. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Australia line up in this World Cup. Then coming into our list as our number 5, we then have Pontus Jansson, of course, a fan favourite at Leeds United. He'll be representing Sweden in this year's World Cup. So far for the national side, he's gone ahead and made 14 appearances. Of course, he was selected for the Euro squad in Euro 2016. However, he didn't go ahead and play a game in that tournament. He'll be hoping for some game time in this one. Sweden find themselves with quite an interesting group as well. They're currently in Group F. They've got Germany, Mexico and South Korea. So I'd suggest that they do have a chance of going ahead and sneaking into second in that group. So Pontus Jansson could be a big player for them. Then coming in at number 4 on the list, we then have Grosicki from Hull City. Definitely a player who I'm going to be looking out for when playing for Poland in this year's World Cup, of course. Last season in the Championship, he really showed his quality in what was a pretty struggling Hull side. At times, you could just see what Grosicki was able to do, of course. He managed to go ahead and bag 9 goals last season for Hull, some of them being some absolute peaches as well. And then speaking about Grosicki with the national side, he's already gone ahead and appeared in 2 tournaments for Poland so far, appearing in both the latest Euros at 2012 and 2016, and he'll be looking to supply Robert Lewandowski for Poland in this World Cup. But if you ask me, that's probably a downgrade on Fraser Campbell at Hull. Then coming in at number 3 on the list, we have 2 goalkeepers who I decided to include in this same spot, as they are both Polish. We've got another couple of Polish players coming in here. We have Bartosz Bilkowski from Ipswich and Lucas Fabianski from Swansea, of course. Both of them now being Championship goalkeepers, although I would suggest that Fabianski probably will be leaving in this summer transfer window. West Ham heavily linked with him at the moment. And Bilkowski last year for Ipswich was probably one of the best keepers in the Championship, actually. Probably went a little bit under the radar, you know, because he was playing for Ipswich and they had quite a mediocre season. But in terms of how many points he went ahead and saved them, I'd certainly suggest that Bilkowski is, if not the best, one of the best keepers in the Championship. And then for Fabianski, probably was one of the only players who could walk out of that season that Swansea had with their head held high, really, you know. He made some big saves for them. Of course, that wasn't enough for them to avoid relegation in the end. You'd probably suggest that the number 1 goalkeeper for Poland this year will be between Fabianski and Szczesny from Juventus. Bilkowski probably going to be their number 3. But even so, we could see one of them playing in this tournament. Then coming in as our number 2 on this list, we then have Tim Cahill. Now, I know a couple of people may say, yes, Tim Cahill has technically been released by Millwall, so isn't technically still a championship player, but of course he was playing in the championship last season, and I had to include him in this list. Tim Cahill is the ultimate World Cup player. He always seems to pop up for a tournament with some sort of goal, of course. If you cast your mind back to last time in Brazil 2014, he went ahead and popped up with this ridiculous volley against the Netherlands.
Partly self-inflicted, but here comes Tim Cahill! Oh, what a response! A sensational volley!
Last season for Millwall, of course, he went ahead and made 10 appearances for them, but really, Tim Cahill for the national side, he's a bit of a national hero, really, of course. He is their all-time top goal scorer with 50 goals in 106 appearances. So if anyone's going to come up in a big moment for Australia, it's going to be Tim Cahill. So just before I reveal my number one pick for this top 10 list, I will give some honourable mentions. So some players were pretty unlucky not to make it onto this list. Players like Juff from Stoke, players like Magnuson from Bristol City, Nasser Chadli, El Mohammadi, James Meredith from Millwall could have made it onto this list as well, Knudsen from Ipswich Town, and Bjarnason from Aston Villa. But there is one player who is technically a championship player who I'm pretty sure we're all looking forward to watching this summer. And that is, of course, going to be Shaqiri, of course. Currently playing for Stoke City now. There is pretty much zero chance that he will be playing in the championship next season. He's definitely going to be leaving Stoke City, but he is technically still a championship player at this moment in time, and Shaqiri is a player who I think we're all looking forward to watching in this World Cup. For the national team, of course, he plays for Switzerland. He always seems to pop up with a huge goal in a major tournament. I mean, if you think back to the last Euros in 2016, he managed to pop up with this goal. I certainly wouldn't put it past him from popping up with a similar goal in this year's tournament, of course. Really, when the stage is set for Shaqiri, he can pop up with an absolute banger, you know. He doesn't really seem to score tap-ins. Every goal that Shaqiri scores seems to be an absolute worldie. So, going into this year's World Cup, he's the player who I'm most looking forward to watching, who is a championship player currently. What's interesting as well is Switzerland actually do have a pretty good chance of going ahead and getting out of their group. In their group, they've got Brazil, Costa Rica, and Serbia. So, for second place, that's pretty open in that group. So guys, there you have it. There are my top 10 championship players who will be playing at the World Cup this summer. So if you guys did go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Let me know down below what your predictions are for this year's World Cup. Who do you think is going to win it? Who do you think is going to be the top scorer? And who do you think will be the dark horse as well? As well as that, how far do you think England are going to get in this year's tournament? And who from the championship are you most excited about watching in this tournament? But like I said, guys, I will now wrap it up. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, make sure you subscribe for some regular championship content on the channel. It is always massively appreciated. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.